Well, I'm so excited to be Zooming with my friend, Gabrielle Marguerite, who I like to call Gabby. This is our first Zoom ever, Gabby.
I know, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited you're here. This is your first podcast, which I'm shocked.
Yes, people ask me all the time, and I just never say yes
Why did you say yes to me, Gabby?
because it's you. And I had that full body yes come in, and I was like, this is the first podcast I'm supposed to do.
Well, we've been talking about it maybe for like years,
Like a year
possibly
and
a
a half.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a very interesting person. And I just am drawn to very interesting people. And you are actually, you're probably one of the most interesting people I've ever met because everyone is given gifts in this world and everyone is given gifts in this life. But you have been given some pretty extraordinary gifts. And I would like to sort of break those down because a lot of people have questions around your gifts. Like you have a lot of abilities.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this world, there's a lot of people with energy powers, and some feel you just navigating energy and people who understand how to use energy in a big way is overwhelming. And you have a lot of those gifts. So, can you kind of tell us what your gifts are? And then we're going to get into them and how you discovered them and how you use them.
Yeah. So, the first gift I would like to talk about is I can see into the spirit realm. So,
That's just a small little thing, and people are going to be like, "What?" I mean, that's a big that's a big moment right there. What
well,
does it even mean?
So to see into the spirit realm means to see into the unseen world. So to see the other world. So just like we have kingdoms here on earth, there are other kingdoms. Like everything in the world is spiritual. We just can't see everything. And everything that happens in this world is impacted by something in the spiritual realm. So like the physical world's just the mirror of all the other realms, right? So it's a reflection. But what does that really mean is I can see the unseen world. So I can see angels, I can see spirits, I can see entities, I can see energy, I can see the courts of heaven.
What
I
does
have,
that mean? What are the courts of heaven like? And what is it like to see all this stuff? Is it how do you how do you not just get bombarded by it all? And then a lot of people listening, especially people with faith, which you have a big faith, are going to be like, oh my gosh, that feels sacrilegious. Oh my gosh, that feels like they say, like a lot of spiritual people will be like, do you come across that where people are like, oh my gosh, that's like not good to tap into these things? It feels like it's playing with like negative energy. I feel like there's just a lot of feelings about these gifts that people have because they can be misused as well, right?
oh yeah, when anyone who has power, I mean, it comes with responsibility, right? And a lot of people have been demonized for their power. There are certain circles that only want certain people to have power, but our politicians use healers, they use intuitives, they use magic. Our world powers use these things. And so when the average everyday person doesn't know these things, it's almost like we can't stand for ourselves fully. We don't have full autonomy. So, yes, people have many, many different beliefs and different understandings and perspectives about what this means. I was born this way. Um, I've been able to see the spirit realm since I was a young, young child. It used to scare me a lot, like so much, because not all spirits are good. Not all spirits are positive. I'm a God girl. I talk to Jesus every single day. However, I don't demonize people for their beliefs or their religion or their perspective because I know we're all on a journey, right? But it's something I think a lot more people have these gifts than we realize, but because we were told for so long that it was evil or it was wrong or only your pastor can have that or only your shaman or whatever can have that, people have made themselves so small, right? And so for me, it was I had these gifts when I was little
How do they
and
show up?
they would just appear. Like I remember when I was sitting in bed when I was a very, very young girl, and this spirit, this terrifying spirit, came to my window And she told me her name was Ginger.
Ginger?
Ginger. And she looked like a woman, like a hologram. Um, I grew up in the church. I come from a family of pastors and evangelists. And as a child, I was like, this is so scary. Like, what is happening? And that was the first one that ever, from like recollection that I can think of, that I ever saw.
What did
And
Ginger say or do?
she used to just scare me.
Was she a bad spirit? How do you know if they're what their purpose is or what they're trying to communicate with you about?
So anything that fills us with fear, it weakens our field, right? So if there's shame, if there's guilt, if there's fear, if there's separation, anything that separates you from yourself, in my understanding, in my perspective, separates us from God, right? So I grew up religious, but there was a lot of shame rhetoric. There was a lot of separation from yourself. You can't think for yourself. You can't see for yourself. You can't know for yourself. And the closer I've gotten to God and to my gifts, I've actually found the complete opposite to be true, right? The more that people come into acceptance and love for themselves, and it's like, you know what? I'm a human. I'm having an experience. I'm having an evolution. It's okay that I'm not perfect. It's okay that I did something that the world would tell me is a sin, but I'm not going to hold on to that, because to repent simply means to change one's mind. I had that experience, I had that evolution, and now I'm changing my mind. Now I'm choosing something different, right? And so I think when we think of the spirit realm, for some people, it's really scary because you're either taught from a very witchcraft perspective, or you are taught from a very religious perspective. And a lot of people, and I'm not demonizing witches whatsoever, I honor everyone's journey, but a lot of people who tap into more magical stuff, they're doing it from a very resentful or hateful or wounded place, right? And so then that's where that negative effect comes from. That's when they start working with spirits or more demonic energies to get something faster, but that always comes at a cost. Does that make sense?
And they're doing it for the wrong reasons.
For personal gain, for power, for influence. The spiritual realm is a very deep place, and some people, they'll tap into something and they get scared, so they get really deep into the religious aspect of things, or they will really steer the other way. I find when we are in a balanced, grounded, level-headed, thinking for ourselves, honoring our own journey space, that is when it's the healthiest.
And you're someone who like you didn't really have a choice. Like you were either going to be like swallowed alive by seeing all these things or you had to figure out how to understand it, right?
Yeah, so I had these gifts when I was a child. My healing abilities came online later on, like my physical medical healing abilities. Um, as a kid, I didn't understand what was going on. I would just know things about people's futures and I would blurt them out because I had the biggest mouth in the world. Like, I remember being at the dinner table one time and looking my uncle straight in the face and being like, "So when are you and my aunt getting a divorce?" And I was 5. And they hadn't told anyone that they were getting a divorce yet.
You just felt it.
I just knew because I could see the divorce. I could see the outcome after, right? And so I only get visions on things that I'm meant to see for people. Um, you can force bounds and see much more, but I really walk with God in my gift set.
What do you mean you can force bounds?
Like you can push yourself through realms. You could connect with other spirits or entities and get more information, but it's not necessarily always a good thing for you.
Yeah.
If there isn't balance and harmony, if it's not bringing you closer to yourself, if it's not bringing you more peace, that's not really a good thing, right?
So how do you know the balance? Because I feel like every time, because there was a season of my life before I met you where I was like very much looking, I've always been looking for answers and I've always been looking for healing and I've always been trying to figure out the purpose of why we're here and understand the bigger picture and like all of that. And so there was a season of my life where I kind of dabbled into people who would be considered psychics or super intuitives. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit because I sometimes got a very negative feeling about it. And then it's like, and then you hear the religious side that it's like sinful. And then you start wondering, like, how do you know those boundaries? How do you know? Because you hear in the Bible that people are, um,
Prophetic.
yeah, and that is a gift.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, what is that line? What is that boundary? How do you play it where, how do you walk that line where you don't dabble in the darkness? But it is, I just feel like it's like it's a big question mark, you know?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to say about that is people's first question is going to be, what is the difference between a prophet and a psychic?
Good point. I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that we demonize verbiage a lot of times and that some things are very misunderstood. Like people will say, well, the Bible says not to use divination, right? And but then the Bible tells us to use prophets.
Right.
And then the churches have even admitted that so much of the Bible has been deleted, right? So we don't
Hmm.
have everything we're supposed to. And so we have all this stuff going on and it creates mass confusion for us. And people are so afraid of going to hell or they're so afraid of doing the wrong thing that we don't learn at all. We
Right.
just either run this way completely, right?
Hmm.
Or we freeze so much that we completely disempower ourselves. So the thing that I would say is you always want to ask yourself, where is the person getting the source of this information?
Hmm.
Like, I am very, very clear with people on the fact that the only things that I connect with are angels, right? That are signed by God and God. And sometimes like Mother Mary will come in and things like that, but it's more so like I'm not just communicating with spirit, I'm communicating with God, right? And some people, and I don't think that going to psychics is a bad thing if you are in your power. If it is coming from a very clear place, if you are making them a god, if you're making them an altar, if you are giving all your power away, like save me. You don't need a savior, right? In a psychic, you don't need a savior in a prophet, you don't need a savior in a church. That's where we things start to get murky. Does that make sense?
What do we need in a psychic or a prophet?
So those are just guides.
Do you feel like they just tap into your highest subconscious? Because like sometimes I've wondered like if they just tap in, they can kind of see all the different roads that could play out and they just tap into your highest version and kind of say it to you. Do you ever feel that?
So I think that that is one a very good question. Two, I think that it depends on the person because well, one, not even all psychics are real or not all intuitives are real, right? There's a lot of fraud out there, just like not all pastors, not all prophets are real, right?
That's why it's hard to sift through it all and it gets very murky, like you
But
said.
that's where you have to listen to your own spirit. So if you feel good and you're like, I feel like I'm like clear, I feel like I'm calm, I feel like I'm connected, like this is a blessing to me, that's one thing. But if you're like, I'm feeling disturbed by this, or this isn't vibing for me, something's off here, you have to listen to yourself because the first thing is we're all on a journey, right? We're all evolving at different paces and we're not all in the same timeline. So while Mary Beth over there might be super aligned for Kelly, she might not be the person who is meant to help you.
Hmm.
And that's okay. It doesn't mean we have to demonize one or another, right? It's just what is aligned and what isn't. The second thing that goes into that is so I've worked with intuitives in the past, and there's some very beautiful intuitives out there, just like there's some beautiful mentors out there. But if you feel like it is separating you from yourself versus helping you get more clear, if it's creating more confusion, that's not a good thing.
Mm.
If it's creating more chaos, that's not what you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then the last thing about your question is I think that it's a combination, right? So when someone sits down with me, and I always pray before my sessions and take time to get very clear. But sometimes the first thing that will show up will be pieces of their future and things that they're meant to know or a message that God has for them. Sometimes I will be shown an energy that's working against them or a spirit and or a sickness that's in the body that needs to be cleared out, whatever it is, right? But it's also when you're present and you have this set of gifts, it typically comes with emotional intelligence as well. So you can read people, you can read the energy field, you can feel them, you can sense what's bothering them. You can feel that this is going on in their subconscious, but it's a combination of all of the things. It's not just one.
So you're just highly in tune.
Yeah, because we're both operating in a physical and spiritual world at the same time.
When was the first time you found out you had healing powers?
When I almost died.
How did that happen?
So it was before we knew COVID was in the States. Actually, they weren't even really talking about what was going on in China yet. And I had kidney issues, really severe kidney issues at the time. But then I got COVID and I had been sick for almost 9 weeks. It felt like there was glass in my chest. I couldn't breathe. I had had to take time off of work at the time. My dad was like, "We're very concerned about you." No one knew what was going on. I was afraid to go to sleep. And
Because you thought you
between,
might die if you went to sleep.
I thought I was going to die
You
if I
just
went to sleep. The doctors didn't know what was going on yet.
so you did so okay, so you had gone to the doctors and they just didn't know what was happening.
They had no idea what was going on because it hadn't come to America yet, or we hadn't been told it was here. Like
Okay.
this was that very beginning kind of shadow period. I want to say that this was around like Thanksgiving time.
Okay, so before, because it really hit in like March of 2020,
Yeah.
so the previous Thanksgiving.
It was 2019 when this happened.
Okay.
And I had always suspected that I had healing gifts. Like I had this very dear friend who was overseas, and God would wake me up in the middle of the night to like pray for him, and God would show me like how to call in angels and put these like energy balls around him. And so when people around him were getting injured, because he was in the military, when they were getting injured and things were happening to them, like a missile hit like right there, and his friend got injured, and he was like less than 7 feet away, and he was untouched. And I had a lot of experiences like that with people. But
And didn't you heal your hand from burning too?
yeah, but the first thing that happened was I was on my beanbag chair in my old apartment. So I had kidney issues going on. I was on round 7 of antibiotics. My bladder was on fire. Peeing was so painful. Then I had all this COVID stuff going on. So all up here, I can't breathe. My chest is so tight, I can't smell anything. Down here is on fire. So I was just like, God, I can't do this anymore. I was like, how does anyone live in this amount of pain? And if I'm being completely honest, I started yelling at him. And I was like, if you're real, reveal yourself to me. And I gave him an ultimatum and I was like, you're either going to heal me and show me what I'm here to do. Because at the time, I was living a very unusual life. I
How
went
so?
I went from working in PR to starting a phone sex business.
Phone sex business. And then
Yeah.
how did that emerge? I mean, you have a great voice.
After I left my PR career, I could not find a job. I applied to like 250 places, and my God, I was like, man, my dad's always told me that I have the gift of gab.
And your name is Gabi.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm feeling really defeated right now, and I need something I can just do online. And it just appeared. Like I was like looking for jobs.
Did you talk to people on the phone?
Yeah, in my phone sex career, I talked to over 16,000 men.
Is that okay, since we're going here, is that like hard to have sexual experiences with people over the phone? Like, I feel like I would be terrible at that because I would not be able to, I would wall up. Like, I feel like, is it violating?
No,
Is it like,
it was liberating
it was?
because I had a persona, right? And so I could be, this sounds so silly, but I could be the most authentic version of myself. I didn't have to hide anything. And the majority of these men were not interested in sexual things. They needed to confess. They needed someone to listen. They wanted a therapist, but without going and facing someone. They had a strange kink or perversion, and Like I helped men avoid going to Thailand and buying children. I got people to go to therapy. I got people to go to rehab.
You ended up saving people.
It
Like,
ended up being the strangest kind of ministry. You have to remember,
wow.
before I got into phone sex, I applied to over 250 jobs. I tried everything. I
So
even
pe
tried becoming a biscuit maker at Hardee's. And I was like, God, why are you bringing me here? This goes against everything I was ever taught. But the amount of men who I prayed with, who
wow.
I encouraged, I got to understand people on a very, very deep level, their struggles, their pain,
There's
their,
shame.
their shame, their disconnect, why people do the things that they do, trauma patterns. It was, if we look at this from the outside world, people would be so judgmental and they'd be like, that's dirty, that's gross, like that's embarrassing. It changed my life.
Gabby, that is so profound because when you said it, like when you told me that, I mean, I like wall up a little bit because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine because I am coming at it from such a different mindset than what you are coming at it from. And now that you say it, I mean, honestly, think about Jesus, where he went
Mhm.
into the most, shameful places, it seems, with people and like went to those people who others were not wanting to talk about what their darkness was or why they had it. And you're over there talking with these men because if they're calling you,
Mhm.
they are looking for relief from their pain because ultimately that's all casual sex or whatever this could be really is. It's an escape from whatever you're trying to not feel, right?
Yes, and it's a complete disconnect from the body, but so much deeper than that, I learned about why so many people like in their marriages were disconnected. Why men cheat, which was for very different reasons than women believe that they
What do
do.
you think the reasons are? What did you find?
The biggest thing that I found was women stopped respecting their husbands.
Why do you think they stopped respecting him though?
I think when we start a relationship, we often put someone on a pedestal, right? Then life happens. And from a vibrational standpoint, your heart is this giant frequency electrical conductor. Like you think of when you're in the hospital, if you're dying, they revive your heart with electricity because it is an electrical component in a very big way. But something that happens is as life happens, as bills happen, children, stress, disconnect, resentment, lack of communication, that vibration plate in the heart. So, like, let's say you're synced up like this, it starts to break away. Okay. And if we don't reconnect that, you can't see each other anymore. There's all of this fog in the way you literally can't see each other. You can't remember why you fell in love. You can't remember like that feeling you had because we communicate through vibration and frequency more than we do words.
So true.
And so I learned this. And so I started talking to couples.
So it went from talking to the male, and now the wife comes in, and you have like,
Uh-huh.
now you're a therapist. So
Yeah.
literally, this just,
Without a license.
but you know what, Gabby? This is so powerful to see how God works because literally, He put you there.
Yeah.
And you were chatting with some of the most broken men who were looking for love,
Yeah.
looking to be fulfilled, looking for
They wanted to be
something,
seen.
wanted to be seen.
And the most powerful men were the ones that wanted to be beat down the most, right?
What do you mean?
Like they wanted someone to yell at them.
Oh,
That
so
was
some people wanted you to yell at them.
yeah, they wanted you to yell at them. They wanted you to do all these crazy things. Like one of Bill Gates' best friends used to call me.
What was he into?
He wanted me to tell him that he was nothing because he had so much power and so much money and influence. His system could not handle it.
What do you mean?
There was so much guilt,
About what?
having so much money, being in this top, elite percent. There was so much shame around things that had been done to acquire that money. And so it's a whole thing, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And
And
these men are just keeping it locked inside and probably not telling anyone
yes,
except for someone like you. And they tell
yeah,
everything to.
but once they realized they could put their guard down, And they're not telling you about their kink or their this or their that. And it's like, hey, actually, this is what I'm struggling with. Like, I remember one man was like, we just lost everything in the stock market, and I'm so afraid to go in the house and tell my wife right now. I need you to tell me things are going to be okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that. But it became the wildest kind of ministry.
How, Gabby?
Yeah. And then, so going back to 2019, I'm dying. I can't work. I can't do anything. I'm feeling less purposeful than ever before, right? And I'm yelling at God. And I'm like, I feel like I'm here to do something. I was like, I can see spirits. I can feel things. I was like, what is it? I was like, either show me now or take me from this earth. Like, I was just like,
Done.
I was in so much pain, I couldn't think straight. And he said, I'm going to heal you of every ailment in your body within 48 hours.
He
He
spoke
said,
to you?
he spoke to me. This giant thunderclap happened. And it felt like God was on my literal couch. But he was communicating me, and this happened many times since. God communicates with me in thunder.
Really?
Like, I was
Even you.
praying at 3:30 in the morning last night about some spiritual warfare things for some people, and the storm we got. And when we get these giant storms, I can feel it in the electrical current in my body. And the harder I pray, the more it storms. And then the whole world feels clear and crisp and amazing. But so he communicated with me. This giant thunderclap happened out of nowhere. We ended up getting a flood the next day. And within 48 hours, I was completely healed of everything.
No
And he
way.
goes, yes. Then he goes, now you have to go teach people. Now you have to go heal people. Now you have to go help people. And he said, I am going to bring in all of the people to get your message out to the world. And I'm like, yo, I'm a phone sex operator. I'm shy. I don't like being on camera. I really don't.
Well, you're
I,
great at it.
I was like, I was working on becoming an Amazon seller because I wanted to do like as behind the scenes as possible. And I was inventing something at the time. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I had religious trauma. I was afraid of being called a fraud, like all these things, because I don't know everything. No spiritual teacher does. I didn't want to be a spiritual teacher. I wanted to be an Amazon seller. So all my eczema went away that I had been struggling with my whole life. Like, my eczema used to be so bad I couldn't close my hands.
Wait, your what?
My eczema.
Eczema used to be all your eczema.
Yeah, I had eczema so bad on my hands I couldn't close them. My inflammation levels were so high in my body. I had all these things that had been going on for many years, extreme stomach aches, all gone. It just went away. Just went away. It was one of the most profound experiences of my life. And that's what started this.
So you hear that you're supposed to go teach now, but how do you teach this? What is there, how do you even share this with people? What is the method? What is the way?
So the first thing is we have to let go of the shame. Because if we, and you also have to remember, sickness doesn't come from God. God does not punish us, but there's spiritual law at play. Like, I had a client 2 months ago who had stage 4 cancer, and someone was pointing something at her, and we broke this and we prayed, and I went into the courts of heaven and we got her rights to her health back. And when she went in for her surgery, there was nothing in her body. They found nothing.
How did she lose the rights to her body? And what do you mean someone was pointing at her? Because you've said that people can put like curses on you, and that's freaky. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, so I'm like, do I say this? I'm just letting God lead this. I'm just gonna, no masks on, whatever, complete truth. If half the internet wants to hate me, it's cool. I know I'm controversial.
No, I mean, it's amazing. I feel you on this because it is such a delicate topic, you know?
Yeah, which is why, even though the message has been so loud, I've still been hiding because I'm like, man, people are not gonna like this, but everyone deserves to be free. right? So, like, if you go to West Africa or different parts of the world, there's witch doctors, and I'm not knocking on anyone's culture. Let me start by saying that. But they know about things that we don't talk about enough here. And people often think, but if I just pray, I'm covered by the blood of Jesus, I will be fine, right? But I've had so many experience, and I pray every single day, and I love Jesus very, very much. But we don't know how to pray effectively. That's the first thing,
Okay.
because we don't understand what I'm about to share, which is we get tricked out of our rights. So if we think about the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, you know, everyone just loves to blame women and say like Eve was wrong and da da da, right? Like, oh, she bit the apple, we're all screwed now. But actually, what that story is teaching us is all things were added onto them. They were living in heaven on earth. Every need was provided. They had all of the fruit, the animals, the harmony, the love, everything they needed. That's what this story is here to teach us. But she got tricked out of her right when she was deceived. That's what that is meant to teach us. So when we say things like, I can do everything on my own, and we can say, or I don't need anyone, and we say that over and over and over again, we are stopping God from being able to intercede in our lives because we have free will. We are stopping our angels from being able to come in and help us that were assigned to us at birth. We are stopping any spiritual intervention at all. And we don't realize this because we're just taught to pray. Does that make sense? So
Okay.
that's the first part. The second part is we all have spiritual rights, but if your parents agreed to something or were tapped into something, or there was a lineage curse, a trauma, a family curse, something spoken over a bloodline, those things can impact us. Very deep topic. But the other thing is we trick ourselves out of things all the time. So if you say, I can't heal, I'm always going to be sick, you're feeding the fear, you can actually revoke your rights to a healthy body. And that is what, call it the devil, call it the dark, call it the shadow. Everyone has a different idea of what this is. I believe in God devil, but I'm not here. I'm not a pastor. I don't know everything. I'm not here to tell people what to believe. I can only share from my own perspective and my experiences. Um, like use your own discernment, right? But we can revoke our own rights. We can get tricked out of rights.
Who's trying to trick us out of them?
So in my perspective, from what I've been shown, it would be like good versus evil, right? We think of evil, we think of big pharma. We think of forces that don't want us to be healthy because everything comes back to our electromagnetic field. So when the body is signaling health, joy, happiness, freedom, prosperity, and that anointing, which is really when we connect to God, we're connecting to a source of electrical conduit and anointing. And it fuels us. And it fuels us with that positive thing. So the body starts to restore itself. Just like Jesus had this anointing and this high electrical conduit that flowed through him. And Mary Magdalene did too, but we don't talk about that as much. And it's like crazy. My eye just started itching so bad.
Your body reacts to stuff when you're talking, doesn't it? Why is your eye itching?
It's like there's something irritating moving out of my eye. And I feel like this is where people have seen things incorrectly, where like we've had misperception, misunderstanding about things we take.
That's amazing about you. As soon as you start talking about something, it like flares something up in your body.
Yeah. My friend laughs at me because when I'm praying and I'm moving something really big, like my hands and feet will sometimes like turn purple, or you'll see energy moving really, really fast. Sometimes I'll get a rash, or like I was helping a child with his hamstring yesterday who is a baseball player, and like I could just feel all the pain in my leg. And then I was helping a woman with her knee, and like same thing, like my body just shows me what's going on in people's bodies, what's going on in the spirit realm. It's like God uses me as like a living conduit and a mirror, right? And then he works through me and those things heal for people. But really the healing is within you all along, because we're created by God. So that ability, that miraculous infinite possibility to create, it lives within us. But we don't understand how infinite free will really is. And so when we shame ourselves, when we blame ourselves, all of those things we are bringing on.
Curses on ourselves.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like negative self-talk and all, yeah. But
And
we're
the
just
higher the emotional charge, the more impactful it is. But it can also be if we don't know ourselves, right? If we're not standing in our power, if we're not standing in true self-love, if we're not anchored and, amplified, then when other people do those things to us, it messes with our field too.
because we absorb it
Mm-hmm.
and we take it
Because
in. We let it
because
penetrate
everything is
us.
frequency.
We let it affect we let that, we energy match them and absorb their energy and then put it in our energy field and it lowers our energy field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because anything someone's projecting at you, like if someone's like she has a fat ass and she has a lot of cellulite, really they're insecure about their own body. They have self-hate.
Right, because why else would you care to send that negativity towards someone unless you had negativity in you already? What happens if you're just observing people though? Like what happens though like if you just observe people? Like is there a difference between just like taking things in for what they are and then having a judgment on it?
Yeah, when you're observing, you're just bringing in awareness and you're like, okay, this is what I'm seeing. But when you judge, it has a more negative charge and like sticky connotation to it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we judge people, we feel it more deeply.
Yeah, it like tings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is why, and we all deal with this, but this is why gossip, we don't want to gossip. This is why, you know, people can be a monitoring spirit in our life without even being aware because we all have trauma. We all have wounds. We all have things we're working through, and we're not all at the same level at the same time. We're not all operating on the same timeline because some people aren't ready.
It's so complex. So I want to, there's so many things I want to talk about. Every time I talk to you, I just get flooded by like things I want to talk about. But I kind of want to talk about what's happening in the world right now because for our personal generation, I feel like these past few years, like the election years and all that, not getting specific about the candidates or whatever, but just the state of the world and the turmoil of the world and like so many things people are rising up against and there's like it's there's not it's chaos. It feels chaotic, it feels angry, it feels like shifts are wanting to be made and people are not satisfied in so many ways across the board. Not I'm not even just talking in politics, I'm just saying people are not happy. Their sicknesses, COVID hit, like it just feels chaotic. Like, what is happening? Because I know there's a spiritual meaning for this ultimately, right?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna share with you what I know about this. And I'm like, am I really about to talk about this? Yes, I am. Okay, let's do it. Oh, I'm getting like goosebumps. I'm like, God, are we really going
Do
here?
we
We
want to go here? You don't have to go here if you don't want
are.
to, Gabby.
We're going here.
Okay.
So this is what has been shown to me. I'm going to start with the frequency part and then we'll go into the physical part of this. Okay. So just like our cell phones, right, are
Hmm.
full of magnets, they're full of electricity, they are full of signaling components. So are you and I.
Hmm.
Again, this is why when your heart stops, they have to use electricity to restart your heart. It's not a valve, it's something so much greater and more significant than that. So you are pretty much the greatest piece of technology that there will ever be. So let's just start there, okay? And we live in a world that for thousands of years, and some people would call this Luciferian. Again, I don't like to get too like deep into the religious components of things because I really want people to have their own journey and I honor where everyone is at and I don't know everything and I'm not going to claim that I do. Okay? So like we're all convicted about different things. We all have a different defining principle, but in short, we have been being disempowered for thousands of years. As we stepped into the age of Aquarius and the age of technology, people are starting to see things differently. They're starting to wake up. Why? Because you are electrical in nature. The entire internet system is a web. It is a web of information. It is a net that connects us in some positive ways and some negative ways, depending on which way you look at it. But Because everything is frequency, and the ancient Egyptians knew this, right? Because you're all these electrical components, you have magnite in you, your brain has electrical components to it. When we started getting 5G, which happened in 2019, that really messed up people's frequency fields. Okay, that was part one. Once you have disrupted someone, and this goes for every single person on the planet, doctors should be studying frequency. They should be studying the meridians in the body. People will come to me with a head injury, and we rebalance their meridians, and their brain starts working again. Like, it is everything. And God wanted us to know this, but it got taken from us because that gives you personal power,
Who
right?
wants to take it from us? The big powers that be?
Well, if you, and there are people who know way more about this than me, but if you study like the Rothschilds and people who have been in power for a really, really long time, and you start looking at the interconnecting webs, the same families have been really ruling the world for thousands of years.
And they know all these things that you're talking about, like frequency,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't want people to know it.
Oh, frequency and what this can do for us has been known for a very long time. But we also think about like big pharma and more money being made and all of these things that kind of keep that gap, right? It all kind of intertwines. So if your frequency field gets diminished, which happened with 5G,
So why did 5G diminish the frequency field?
because it is a communication component that's your body's not used to.
So just like by being near our phone, it affects our frequency?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, we don't have to fear these things. We don't have to worry about these things. We are very, very powerful beings. Once we are aware of something, we can change it. You can say, I come out of agreement with 5G. You can hear my voice changing right now. I come out of agreement with 5G impacting me in any negative way. I
I
come out
come
of
out of agreement with 5G impacting me in any way.
I come out of agreement with this impacting or manipulating my biofield. And you'll actually feel it. Like when I just said that, I can feel it. And so that's the first thing. So then we had all this fear rhetoric start coming in. Fear is the lowest frequency. Once you start to accept something that is charged by fear, your reality starts to mimic that in your finances,
Mm.
in your health, in your
Oh.
mental health, and your energy levels. So you think of your frequency field as this incredible protective bubble of magic and electricity and all these things, right? Once that seal gets broken and you're distracted, and so instead of being focused and present and realizing, do I need the newest electronics to be happy? No. Do I need the newest makeup palette to feel beautiful? No. A lot of this also comes in with like consumerism, right? The more you hate yourself, the sicker you are, the worse you feel, the more money you're going to have to pay to someone else, the harder you're going to have to work for that money. And then your energy can be harvested, and energy harvesting creates power.
What does that mean? Your energy can be harvested.
So, this is a deep conversation, but,
You know we're gonna go deep, Gabby. I can't help it.
so if you are to think of, I was in the car with a friend the other day, and I talked about this on my page several months ago, but I talked about destiny swapping and how people's energy can be used against them. And these
Destiny
are things,
swapping.
these are things that are happening to a lot of people on mild levels because we're all brought here with a certain energetic signature. We are all brought here with a calling, and each individual person holds a special, unique frequency. And people are like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And I'm like, existing. That might not be what fulfills you. But just by shining your brightest, you're making the world a better place because you hold a unique frequency that God gave you. And the world needs that frequency. You were put here at this time for a reason, and you're part of that frequency grid, right? Like the world literally needs your frequency. Like your purpose that week might be going to the coffee shop 4 times because people needed the medicine that your bioenergetic field holds. Okay.
It's radiating out of you.
Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. The second thing is energy cannot be created or destroyed. So, like, if something needs more energy, so like, let's say someone wants to be the richest person in the world and they understand energetics and they understand that they're going to have to harvest from the masses to have that level of power. Because it's never really about the money. Why people are power obsessed, I don't know.
What?
It's such,
Yeah.
it's
It
so
sounds
strange
awful
to
because like
me.
once you get it all, like it's a torturous existence, I would feel like.
I feel like it's a trap though. Also, I'm gonna take this. Yeah, I'm gonna go here. Okay, we're going here. Okay, God, this is gonna be probably the strangest uh, talk you've had on your show, but here we are. Let's
I'm
just,
here for it.
all right, gloves off. So I'm like trying to articulate this. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so if we think of someone who has a lot and we ask ourselves karmically, why are the evils in the world like, why do they never get handed their karma? Okay, like, why can someone be a pedophile or hurt people or do all these things? And like, if God is real, why do they get to continue to hurt people? Why do they get to continue to create wars? Why do they get to continue to create suffering? And we see this all over the world. Like, anyone who looks out their window knows that there's good and evil, that this world isn't particularly fair, right? The reason for that is I'm just going to use God devil for simplicity purposes here, but the devil, or what we would know as the devil, uses technology too, uses science, uses alchemy. Okay. And knowing the things that I know, I would never ever do this. But so if I had a lot of bad karma, okay, I could swap energy with someone else and I could take their timelines and I could prolong myself from having to pay off that karma or having to have those lessons or like my time being up.
Would you have to get it eventually though?
That's what they do. That's where this energy harvesting comes in. So the more you can harvest from others, you're taking their timelines, you're taking their destiny, you're taking what's assigned for them, right?
So you're getting their goodness.
You're getting their goodness, you're getting their light, you're getting what's meant for them. So they're over here thinking, why is my life so hard? Why am I so unlucky? When I do all the manifesting, I do all the praying, I go to church, I tithe, I do all these things, like what the actual is going on, right? We see this with celebrities, we see this with stars. So many people, you'll see them like about to rise, and then someone else rises instead in a big, big way. This doesn't happen with everyone, but it is a thing. And so it's it's like a swapping.
Are those people who got their energy swapped, are they just doomed? Because if they don't know how to unswap it, because so few people even know that this exists, like what you're talking about, like are they just forever doomed with the bad destiny that was swapped on them?
I mean, it's been happening for thousands of years. It's one of the reasons Earth is so unfair. And if you go by biblical context, which again, I am not an expert in this arena, I'm not going to claim to be. Everything I know, God shows me. And then when I apply it in my life and I help people and it works, I'm like, I can't believe that that was real. It's a very nuts. Like, I'm always like, how is this? How every day something new? How is this real? How is this real? Right. But we think back thousands of years. It is said in the Bible that Satan is the ruler of this realm, of this world. Okay. Very unpopular opinion. I didn't write the Bible. I'm not quoting the Bible. This is just what I'm using for this example. Whether people want to believe that or not, totally up to them. But with that being said, there is so much in the spiritual realms and the unseen world that happens on this planet, and everything is spiritual. And so that is why it's so important for us to be mindful of what we think of ourselves, what we say to ourselves. Am I blaming myself? Am I shaming myself? All of these things, because once you start to think that you are the person in the wrong and you come into agreement with that and you start to believe you don't deserve good things and all of that stuff that delays you and holds you back, it's much easier to take your energy.
So
Just
that's
like
how people can take your energy because you already
just
don't
like
believe you're worth it.
yes, just like if you give them authority, like if you give them authority over you, or if you are someone who's completely disassociated, or you come into agreement with something.
So this happens so unknowingly.
Mhm.
That's the big scary part is so many people, I'd say the majority of people are unknowingly giving their energy away and their power away. And so,
To the
okay,
news, to the media, to the fear, to right now they're trying to tell everyone about this recession. God is like, Gabrielle, you do not buy into this. My business is doing great. He's like, you do not buy into this. Absolutely not. That you are in your timeline, you are not in a recession. But this is the thing, our fear, the depletion in our fields, the manipulation of our frequency, all of these things is what puts us in those timelines where we can be taken from.
so back to like the state of the world right now, what is happening? Why are we in chaos right now?
We're in chaos for a lot of reasons, but the first one is COVID was that whole agenda, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is a lot of world powers are creating one world, craving one world government
Why?
because we talked about the timelines and destiny swapping and karma. Time is up. The evil forces were able to rule for a long time because of what we just discussed. Time is up. They're scrambling. When you scramble, it creates chaos on a mass scale.
So is one world government, could that be a good thing or could that be a bad thing? Like this is so big. I don't even, I mean, and I know you're talking about a lot of things. You're like, oh my gosh, what are we talking about? This is a lot to talk about.
So, I mean, one world government, if you were to
It could
ask
be terrible.
from what I'm shown, I think that we have been living closer to a one world government since the 60s than we think we are.
Okay.
Okay. And now it's just they're trying to like, would that be a great thing? No, because everyone has a different perspective. Everyone has a different idea. They're never all going to get along. Everyone wants to be the main one, the main. Again, most of the issues in this world come from greed and power hunger.
Right.
Why does someone have to be the very best, the most powerful country, the most this, the most why?
I know. Why can't we just figure out how to share resources and like how to work is that ever, do you ever see that happening in this world where we get through all of this power hunger phase and we actually get to a point where we learn how to sustain the earth and the environment and live harmoniously and there's not this out of balance, poverty to wealth?
So that's a layered question.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, just if world peace basically. Do you ever see it?
and my response to this is this: we're not, while we're all living on the same physical plane, we're not all living in the same world.
Mm,
So if, and this is something I really think they should teach everyone in school, and they, of course, they're not going to, but timeline jumping is a very real thing. Okay. Like in church, they would be like, your time is coming, like your time is coming, like God's finally saying yes to you. Um, I just like the word timeline because it seems pretty simple to describe this. But so you think about this like electrical wire that you're standing on that connects you to the world that you're currently in. Okay. You do not have the exact same calling as Yima that is over in Egypt.
right.
Okay. So in Yima's timeline for a time, there might be suffering, there might be poverty, there might be hunger. That doesn't mean we're not aware of these things and we don't do our part to contribute. But the world doesn't change unless more people start to realize that one, while we're all in the same physical world, we're not all operating in the same timeline. We're not all operating in the same grid at the same time, right? So while some people are going to face a recession because their frequency is aligning with fear, doubt, freak out, panic, worry, shame, etc., over here you're going to see a huge group of people winning. It's the same thing with COVID and everything else. It is what we agree to. It is what we come into agreement with. I'm reading this book right now, and it's all about how God wants to repair our subconscious mind so that we live in alignment with the promises of a good life. Like in the very beginning, they got tricked out of utopia. That's what the story says, essentially, right? They revoked a right. Okay. Whether people want to believe that the Bible is like truth or it's a series of just stories and parables, totally up to them. Regardless, the story is They got tricked out of a right. A part of their spirit got killed.
Mm.
This is happening to people on this planet every single day. So while I may not be able to change the entire world because we're living in there are multiple worlds going on at once. There's multiple stories of the world going on at once. If you, I don't know why this is showing up, but if you lived in Yemen, you would be experiencing a very different world than you are experiencing in America and Tennessee. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So once you understand that instead of fearing what's going on out here and thinking, how do I create world peace or how do I fix this, or taking on the burden of what is happening on the global stage, which is a stage to defeat you, to confuse you, to separate you from self, right?
To bring you to that lowest level of fear
Yes,
and
yes.
and feeling like you are helpless.
And instead, you start to decide, I don't care what well, we do care. We care about making the world a better place, right? But that only happens if the masses who have been disempowered shift the way they think, they move, they walk, they realize that we all came here with a purpose because we all hold a special frequency and code, and that there's a lot more of that us than there are of those who want to keep us powerless and enslaved so that they can continue to rule.
So basically, the key to world peace is for every individual to realize they hold the power and
Yes.
that to realize that they are the God spark that came here. And even no matter what you're born into, you were given this life, which is an opportunity to have God through you on earth.
Yes.
Because all of us are divine sparks of God.
Yes. And we're all special. And
Everyone's special.
we're all anointed, and the ability to heal oneself lives inside every single person. There's no hierarchy. There's no one. While some people may be equipped and like not every person's meant to be a spiritual teacher or a healer, right? That's not where their path led them. That's not what they were equipped for. But every single one of us is made up of what we need to heal ourselves, to restore ourselves, to feel better, to have our bodies heal, to have our metabolisms heal, to have all of these things. Like the more alive you are, you came here to live, right? When I show people how to bring frequency into their scalps, their hair starts to grow. Every time I go to the hairdresser, she's like, you have more hair.
How do you bring frequency into your scalp?
So you just close your eyes and you take a breath in
Mhm.
and you say, I am inviting life to come through the top of my scalp right now and to bring forth that frequency. And what's going to happen, you'll feel the tingle. And what's going to happen, and I can feel that in your throat too, but what's going to happen is because now more life is pumping through, more blood flow is pumping through, right? And you're signaling, you are making the decision in this moment. You're setting the intention and you're pairing it with the frequency. More hair is growing for me, and it is done.
You just have to believe. The hardest thing I get to, and I mean, I can't believe we've already been talking an hour, so I'm gonna try to wrap this up soon. But the hardest thing I get to, and I think other people get to, is believing that I actually do have that authority.
You do. And if you think about how everything is a legal system, which it is when we give up our authority, which starts with our moms,
Our moms?
because your mom is the first authority in your life for most people. And
What
so
do you,
you are under the covering of that person's authority until you break that seal. So anything our moms spoke over us, anything our moms told us to be true about ourselves, and our moms have wounds. Our moms have trauma. So it really starts with the first root, the first seed. So the key to healing the world is for each individual to heal.
and that takes that's a long journey though, right?
Doesn't have to be.
Okay, if you were going to suggest an efficient, quick way to start the healing process that didn't involve years of all types of therapy and introspective journeys and all that, what would you say?
So this is going to be unpopular, but the first thing I would do is I would forgive But I would forgive from a place of tremendous authority and I would cut absolutely every single other person off from my energy field.
Okay, so what do you mean?
So last night I had this crazy dream. I've been celibate now for almost 6 years. I took a
Okay.
break.
Okay.
Took a break to step
Nice.
into my calling. And I had a dream of the last man I was intimate with. And he was like morphing into my face and my body. And I was like, this is so weird. And God goes, there's still an energetic cord there.
Cord.
Yes. And God was like, you have to, and I do cord cutting all the time, but God was like, there's a live wire that is still connecting you. Because every person we're intimate with, we become one with.
And
Every
that's what people need
person,
to realize too. Sex is not just sex. Sex is a connection forever. You download all their energy field, right?
you download their blueprint, you can take on their karma, you can take on their spiritual debt. Most of the time, women end up giving more to men. So if you are intimate with someone and then you realize, man, that man's really blessed now, but I'm feeling really hurt and defeated and depleted and all of these things, who we lie with is a very big deal.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Very big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I believe that so
It
much.
can mess up your mental state, your emotional state, all of these things. So like that's a huge topic. But in terms of authority, so like you want to fast track your healing, you want to fast track just living your life, right? So that's the first thing is forgiveness. Who do I need to forgive? Do I need to forgive myself? Do I need to forgive my mom? That's the first thing. Who do I need to forgive? And then where do I feel? And God will show you if you just ask, where do I feel that there are still live wires?
Like triggers. Would that be like trigger points? Things that like make you feel like,
No, like I'm talking actual electrical wires that are tying you to other people.
how do you know if you have a live wire?
Give me 1 second. Okay. You were in a group with two other girls.
Mm-hmm.
There is still a live wire between the three of you.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So, what you would want to, I'm just going to use this as the
Yeah.
example. So, the reason we want to clear these wires and why God talks so much about purity, and this is misunderstood. To be pure, to be without blemish does not mean to be without sin because we're all sinning every single day. You eat too many donuts, congratulations, gluttony, you're a sinner. But no
Yeah.
one talks about that one, right? We pick and choose. Um,
Yeah.
but it's really just sin is really just the things that are not the best for us.
So sin is not like this thing that like we have to live in fear of sin. It's there to protect us so we don't hurt ourselves. Like you said,
Yeah,
if you eat too many donuts, it's gluttony, but really what's gonna happen is you're gonna get a terrible stomach ache and you might be
like
like chained to
diabetes.
the toilet for a while.
So how many fat pastors are there?
Oh yeah, tons.
They love to shame you for your sexuality and you're this and you're that, but it's not because God gets upset or it's like, oh, you're bad. It's more so, hey, I love you.
This
You're
is for your own
amazing.
good.
You're my
Like
own creation. And you need to know these things because it's going to hurt you more than anyone.
like that's the thing, like with sleeping with people. It's like you are going to suffer when you
Yeah,
sleep with people. It is going to affect you. When like all this the seven whatever is it the seven sins, seven deadly sins, they're all it's not like you're going to hell. It's like you actually
mm,
are going to feel hell on earth in your own physical experience by doing these
correct.
sins.
Because you can take on all of the stuff that that other person and then the person they were with before that and before that and before that. So to be pure means to be free of everyone else's bullshit.
Even
Because
family, are you supposed to cut cords of family? Cut uh uh energy,
so
what are you calling it?
yes, because and this is why we get quantum entanglements. So let's say I don't know who Junie is, but let's say you and Junie are like this, right? You're best friends, you share everything with each other, you've meshed a little too well. So this electrical cord is getting tied between you two because maybe you didn't fully know who you were and you weren't very clear on your identity and you weren't very convicted in yourself and neither was Junie. So you're like tied together like this. So you might be taking on Junie's pain, Junie's fear, Junie's emotions. So sometimes we get stuck in these cycles and it's not even our own stuff. It's not our burden to carry. When God says to cast all your burdens onto me, what he's really saying is, hey, you are not supposed to be carrying all these burdens for everyone. I am God. I am with you, but you're a human. Like it gets too complicated. It gets too messy and energetic. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's not,
So if you,
we're not equipped to handle it.
no, you will lose your mind.
And it's not being like a savior, and it's not being like this. It's not good to be this selfless person who just goes in and tries to shoulder everyone's burdens, because now you've sunk yourself down and your light's not shining, and you can't be the God force that you're intended to be because you're so covered up with everyone else's burdens.
Correct. When you're told to give with a joyful heart, that means you should only give when it feels good to you. If you're doing it from a disgruntled, resentful, miserable place, that's not good for anyone.
Because it's not authentic and it's not out of love. It's out of
Correct.
fear. It's out of fear.
Yes.
And
So if you
doing
want to
any, yeah, just,
fast track, so the first thing I would do is I would forgive because that's going to start to clear your mind. I've let this go. Then I would hand over all the burdens. The next thing that I would do is I would do a life evaluation and ask, where do I feel that I have authority and rights, and where do I feel that I don't? And you can do a lot of this with pattern recognition. So if you get anxious every time you go to the gym, you may not have the right to work out.
wow,
If
you might have
you,
given that away. Like
if
how,
you,
why? Sorry, tell
let's
refresh me again how that would have happened.
so spiritual teachers, parents, teachers, doctors, caregivers, anyone who was given a seal of authority over you at any point in your life or that you gave authority to, right? Which is why even pastors should never be on a pedestal. We're not meant to worship each other. We
Mm,
are not meant to put ourselves beneath anyone because then you get into these legal authority issues. So like I walk beside all of my clients, right? Like we are friends. We are a team. It's not I am your leader,
hmm.
right?
Right.
This is why God tells us to like humble ourselves and like be at
Hmm.
the same level because that's where that stickiness comes in. So, like, let's just say your mom as a kid said to you, oh, you're so uncoordinated, you should never go to the gym.
Then you believe that and that becomes authority and you've given that away.
Mhm. And then that gets like embedded and written into your field. So if you just look at your life and the things that you struggle with, and it's like, I've done the therapy, I've done the talk through, I've done the somatics, and those things still linger, those are the things you want to look at. And just simply through prayer and breaking covenants and agreements and saying, you know what, God, I come out of agreement with that. And just going through your list and saying, I'm choosing this now instead. I'm taking my authority back. That person no longer has reign over that part of my life. Even if a doctor was like, oh, you're always going to have lupus.
I know the fact that people in authority can say things with such finality, you will always be this,
Mm-hmm.
that, and the other. And then people, of course, believe them because they don't think that they have the authority to know.
But that is what they're trained to do. Because if you think about when professional medical systems came into play, it was around the same time as big pharma. It's a huge, huge moneymaker. It all comes down to greed and power and energy harvesting. Like
Man,
if someone wants to live longer, if they harvest someone else's energy, they can't.
man, it's dark out there, but it's also light. It's spiritual
It's,
warfare.
yeah, but the thing is, one, we never really have anything to fear. This is all about self mastery. It's not meant to be confusing. It's not meant to take you away from yourself. It's, oh, now I have this knowledge and this wisdom. And so I'm going to be more mindful of that thing. Now I have this knowledge and this wisdom, and I have mastered myself more. Oh, now I know that if I sprain my ankle, not to give power to it, but to start speaking that it's healing, not to come into agreement with that this is going to take 8, 10 weeks to heal. I've seen an ankle heal in 10 minutes. Does that make sense?
Yes, but it's like such a powerful belief in yourself. Like that's the thing we have to train ourselves to
Yeah.
believe it. Okay,
Yeah.
so tell me what you do with your clients.
Which part?
Like when people come to work with you, and we'll wrap up probably on this, what do people, why would someone work with you? Like what does a client do when they are with you?
People come to me for a variety of reasons. I have people who come to me who They want to make bigger impact in the world. So I help them master their energy field, what their frequency is saying, how to get to more people, how to go viral,
How to clear out all their
how to
debris.
clear out all the debris, how to tap into their karmic wealth, how to make more money, because all of this is energetic, frequency based. I work with a lot of CEOs, and speakers and people who are on stages and things like that. But then I also work with moms and people who are feeling depleted, who are dealing with things like mold poisoning and Lyme's and sickness, and they can't figure out why their body's not healing, or people who have hair loss from COVID, people who are just feeling like they're not in their purpose, they're not happy, they're not joyful, they're not connected. So pretty much anyone who one wants help with their energy, their frequency, people who doctors can't figure out what's wrong with them and they don't know how to heal themselves, and people who are here to do big things and they don't know how to get their mission out there, or they need help just amplifying, right? It's tapping you into your own God-given gifts. It's tapping you into your own power. It's showing you how to utilize that for yourself.
So cool, Gabby. I mean, this is so awesome that you've been able to go through your own journey in your own life and sift through it all and get to this place of clarity where you truly are helping others to help themselves and to help themselves through their God-given gifts. I mean, this is really powerful. I'm so honored to know you and to hear this. And it's like every time I talk to you, I'm just fascinated because I feel like the layers are endless of what you have come to understand.
I mean, this world has been here for a long time, and there's so much to it, but the thing is we don't have to lose ourselves in it. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's not meant to bring us anxiety or panic or fear. It's like for a long time, I did not have the right to be seen because I'd given up that authority as a child. In fact, I cleared more of that the other day when you reached out,
Really?
10 minutes before.
No way.
Yes.
Are you serious? Were you like, okay, God, this is a sign?
Yeah, actually, I was.
That's amazing, Gabby.
So and and it's not just parents. I think that this is really important to just add to this conversation before we wrap up. It's people we look up to, people we put on a pedestal, right? Like that mean girl that was in your life who said all this, spoke all these things onto you. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not about demonizing people or villainizing them. It is about holding our own power. It's about thinking for ourselves. It's
Because that
about
mean girl has nothing to do with me, really. I mean, maybe it's a lesson for me, but that's her stuff. It's not mine
mm,
unless I let it on me.
exactly.
And when we're young and when we're growing up, we don't know that we can not let it on us. So that's why, like, you have to come back and rewire yourself from
Yes.
all of the programming.
Yes, and we don't like we can rewire through living, through moving through things, through choosing to have a healthy morning routine, through starting our day on a living note, right? Like today's going to be a good day for me. I'm going to feel good things. Even if we don't believe it yet, when we just speak it and come into agreement with that this shift is happening, the universe is the echo chamber, right? We're part of the universe. God created the universe. It's part of it, but it's the echo chamber. So when we speak something, when we decide something, when we declare something, so weird.
What happened?
I don't know. Are you still there?
Yeah.
That was wild.
You're frozen, but I'm still hearing you. Maybe that was a powerful thing. When we declare it,
When we decide, when we declare, whether we believe it or not yet, whether we are fully in that space or not, right? Because we've stated it, because we've come into agreement with it, things will start to shift. But the outside world does such a good job of making you think you're helpless, you're weak, you can't change, you're broken, you have so many issues that it can be difficult for us to get to that place. But even if you don't know what the next 10 steps are, if you're just like, you know what, today my life is changing,
speak it.
I am deciding it. You don't even have to believe it when you start. I'm deciding. I'm coming into agreement with this change. I'm coming into agreement with this transformation. I am coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf. And I'm, I am coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm, I am coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm, I am coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm, I am coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm, I am coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to intercede on my behalf, and I'm coming into agreement that God gets to have to believe it. You have to come into agreement with it.
You have to come into agreement with it.
Mhm.
Okay, Gabby, where can everyone find you?
They can find me at the Miracle Medium on Instagram.
The Miracle Medium.
Yeah.
Okay.
My website's in the middle of getting a whole revamp, so I don't even think it's up right now.
Okay, so Miracle, Miraclemedium.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I always wrap up with leave your light, and it's super open-ended. What do you want people to know? Just to drop some inspiration.
I want people to know that they are the answer, that they have everything within them that they need to change their life already, that while it is okay to get someone to support you on that journey, when we come into agreement with God and we allow God to intercede on our behalf, and we come into agreement with miracles and that better things are going to happen for us, and that we are done with that old timeline and that space where things were more painful and they were difficult, and we're thankful for the lessons. We're ready for that change, that transformation, that things can happen very quickly. It doesn't even have to take days, that we're never really stuck.
That's amazing. Gabby, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this wisdom. I have been doing a little bonus episode, it's just like a little 10-minute episode where I pull a few cards. Can we do that after right now, after this,
Yeah.
for a little bonus episode? Okay, well, Gabby, thank you so much for joining me. This was
Thank
so
you.
enlightening. Everyone, y'all go check her out, The Miracle Medium. And I just feel every time I talk to you, I'm literally like mind blown, like mind blown. It's just so empowering to hear your perspective on this, to realize we do have a say and we're not controlled by everything that's happened to us, by all the influences in our life, by what's the state of the world. We truly can come back to ourselves and be our own guide and our own connection. And it's
Yes.
it's empowering to learn that and be reminded of that. So thank you for speaking this message loud and clear over and over again and teaching this to people. It's truly incredible.
Thank you. It has been such an honor to be here today.
Thank you for being on my podcast, your first podcast ever.
I know. I can't believe it. I'm so excited.
Okay, we're gonna do a quick bonus episode coming at you Thursday. Gabby, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
We're back with Gabrielle Marguerite, otherwise known as Gabby, the Miracle Medium. We had an incredible conversation on Monday that if y'all have not tuned into, you must go listen to it. Gabby is such an intuitive. She is such a healer. You are gifted with incredible insight into spiritual realms and how earth and heaven and how it all works together. How would you describe yourself just quickly if someone hasn't listened to the episode on Monday?
I would describe myself as a conduit that is here to help people amplify their own healing, their own transformation, how to release pain, suffering, experience more miracles, and feel more fulfillment, experience more fulfillment, experience more of the good stuff that life has to offer, and just make it simple.
I love that. So y'all tune in if y'all haven't listened because truly, Gabby, you are one of the most interesting people I have ever met. And the way God works through you and that you are now sharing that with other people is truly profound. And so it was so fun to get to do your first podcast ever with you.
Thank
And now
you.
we're gonna draw a few cards, okay? Well, normally I have people draw them, but just tell me when you want me to draw one. I'm just gonna kind of tell me. I'm gonna tell me when you want me to pick one.
There.
Okay. Okay. What's something you're learning? So right now we're doing a bonus episode of Tell Me More, just a few questions. What's something you're learning to like or just be more okay with?
Mm. Being with people in social situations and being okay with being able to feel all of their ailments and their traumas and their thoughts without feeling like I have to take it on.
So you walk into a crowded room and you are like, when you go into an airport, are you bombarded with everyone? Do you feel everything everyone's feeling?
I love airplanes. I hate airports.
Yeah. What do you do to protect yourself against that?
I mean, you can shield up and you can move through life, but it's also I have this gift, right? And so it's like if someone has an injured leg or a misalignment in their body or they have clogged arteries, I want to help them.
So you kind of can't help it. You're just like, will you like walk up to someone and be like, "Hey, I know your leg is really hurting you. I'm just gonna help you."
Only if I've been drinking. When I'm sober, I will just start praying for them in my mind and asking if they can receive help.
That's amazing, Gabby. Okay, we're gonna do another one. Okay, so tell me when. Let me just put something out.
Yeah.
Tell me when you
That
want me.
one.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay. What's something you dislike that most people like?
Oh, what is something I dislike that most people? That's a good question. Shopping.
Really? I don't love shopping either. I have to be in a total mood. Why do you dislike shopping?
So I was addicted to it for a while, and I found out that it was just like a numbing agent, right? um, but at my most authentic self, I find shopping exhausting.
Why do you think that is?
I think that I'm just over consumerism.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm in a state of my life where, like we talked about on our episode, things people can do to shift their lives quickly. Just being like in awe and gratitude, realizing that everything we need is already here. I also don't like driving. I'm very bad at it.
Fair. Okay. Okay, let's see.
No,
No? Okay.
no, go back. One more over. Yes.
Okay. Okay. If you could be famous for something, what would you want it to be?
I would want to be famous for teaching people how to heal.
Which is already what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do
I
you
would
feel,
just like on a bigger scale.
do you feel ready for more people to know about your abilities? Do you feel prepared for it?
I do. I didn't even a week ago, but where the world is at right now, people, and we talked about this, but the world is calling people to know their power and God's love and that combination more than ever before. And it's even if I weren't ready, it's time.
Mm.
Mhm.
And you've been sent to guide people. That's your gift.
Yeah.
Okay, last card. Okay.
No,
This
that one.
one?
Uh-huh.
Okay. What's something you've worked really hard on recently?
Oh, what is something I worked really hard on? Not letting the pressure or other people's pressure and like the chaos and like the things that are going in their life, like being able to help people and serve them without taking on the fear and pressure that they're dealing with.
How do you do that?
So, like when you have someone who comes to you and the doctors don't give them a lot of hope and they're dealing with something really serious, right? They're dealing with bone cancer. There's someone I'm helping with bone cancer right now. And you know that they can heal. You've witnessed it happen before. I witnessed it with my dad with his brain cancer, and we did all these spiritual things, and he's had stage 4 and he's completely better, and things are amazing, right? But it's how do I serve this person without having complete certainty or like a medical, and even doctors are not always certain, right? But like, how do you help this person change their life and hold the hope and hold the light and move their body through this without crumbling from the fear of what if it doesn't work?
Oh, because
Yeah.
that when that creeps in, then it automatically probably won't work, right?
No, but my psyche will start to like want to freeze up and I will get resistant even though I've seen it happen so many times. It's like, I think that that's the thing that I'm probably working through the most.
But it's like you truly, yeah, because it is such big deals.
Mhm.
And you know that that person can heal and you know that you can help guide them, but it's like, oh my God, the pressure of if it doesn't is so big that it's overwhelming that the fear can creep in. Man, it's all such a mind game with fear versus
Yeah.
full faith.
Yes. And faith is a muscle. It's something we have to practice, and like believing in ourselves more, seeing ourselves more, knowing ourselves more. It's all a practice.
How do we practice it?
Daily repetition. So even if we're afraid of something, we do it anyways. Even if we feel resistant, okay, what is the resistance that I have here? I'm identifying this, I'm looking at this. Thank you for the answer. I'm going to make myself do it anyways.
And just
Because
believing that you're capable.
confidence comes through repetition, through witnessing it over and over again.
Man,
Mhm.
you are so right. We talked about in our episode that like frequency and just like what we believe to be true and like the curses that we even put on ourselves or the programming that like holds us down, that is what needs to be taught. If we
Yeah,
could, that is what we need to learn is that we are all frequency, that we can break this low level energy that's put on us that has us in chains. We can break it by coming back into our power of knowing that whatever we think someone has done to us or whatever has happened to us or whatever we believe we're not capable of, that's all not true.
exactly.
But it's just like
Exactly.
believing that is it's that's the hardest part is just to believe it.
That's the purity. When you're standing in your own frequency without the manipulation of the world or others or things you've come into agreement with or things you've said yes to, and it is just you, right? It is just you. You're vibrating at your highest because you don't have anyone else's signals, manipulation, electrical components messing with you. It is you and God, and you are clear and you are convicted and you are certain and you are just moving through life. I'm not taking this on. I'm not accepting that. I'm not saying yes to that. You don't have any agreements. You don't have anything that's diffusing your power. You don't have anything that's taking your authority. That is when we are the most powerful. That is when we are the most present.
To clear out all that debris though, that is that is the work.
Yeah. But
But
it's
you said it doesn't
something,
have to be hard.
no, it doesn't have to be hard. And I think we make things way more complicated than they have to be. Like I can clear out 20 agreements in an hour.
And how do you do it? You just identify what they are and you say, I no longer am in agreement with those.
Yeah, and if there's a covenant, I'm breaking this covenant. I'm breaking this covenant. I'm calling in God. I'm calling in Jesus. I'm coming out of agreement with this. This is not for me. I speak that this is no more. Because when we are told that the power of life and death lives in our tongue, but you have to give yourself permission for your tongue to be activated and for your tongue to hold that power.
Mm. How can I do that? Like right now, like I will give myself permission.
So I would just take a breath in.
Okay.
God,
God,
I'm coming into agreement with
I'm coming into agreement with
the power of my tongue,
the power of my tongue,
that the power of life and death
that the power of life and death
flows through my tongue.
flows through my tongue.
I am saying yes to this.
I am saying yes to this.
That's all you have to do.
So what now, but what does it mean, the power of life and death? Like, what does that mean exactly?
What you speak becomes. Are you speaking things that are living? Are you speaking, my life is getting better? Things are improving daily. I feel miracles all around me. Or are you speaking, I'm doomed, I'm freaked out, I'm panicked, I'm worried? And that doesn't mean that we gaslight ourselves. We're all going to have things that we work through. But it's when we freeze and we hold ourselves there for long periods of time, right? It's that repetition. So it's either positive repetition or negative repetition. And the more emotion and authority and conviction behind that repetition, the more powerful it will be.
Wow. It is all a frequency game, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Everything.
everything. But the beautiful part of this is we're never really stuck. We can heal from anything. We can transform from anything. We can be so blessed. Life can be so good. It can be so purposeful and meaningful. And if you think of all of the fear rhetoric that's thrown at us every day, it's just daggers. and your faith and your belief in yourself, and you're giving yourself permission in line with God, can repel so much of that.
That is so powerful, Gabby, and so true.
It's something all of us can do. It's not this complicated. You have to master the 70 secrets of the universe. You have to go to the temples overseas. You have to be chosen from some something. No, it's for all. It is for all.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Gabby, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. This has been so fun.
This has been so amazing. And everyone check Gabby out, the Miracle Medium on Instagram. And if you're interested in working with Gabby, you can reach her there. And I have done sessions with Gabby, and let me tell you, it's amazing. So y'all check her out. And just thank you so, and you also drop so much wisdom on your Instagram too. Like you're always like giving like wonderful little inspirational things that help remind us of all that we've talked about today and all of who we are. But thank you so much for joining, Gabby.
Thank
This was
you.
amazing. I'm so happy to have gotten to do this podcast with you and it be your first one. I mean, you're like a pro. You're ready to be podcasting all over the world now.
That is how it feels. I loved this.
Me too. Okay. Bye.
Bye.